Imagine waking up to the news that a catastrophic earthquake is imminent. This is what happened to California when Thomas Jordan, director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, announced that the southern portion of the San Andreas Fault appears to be locked, loaded, and ready to go. Join us as we explore the science behind earthquakes and how the San Andreas Fault is capable of unleashing the big one. Picture yourself standing on a giant puzzle where the pieces are not glued together, but instead moving and sliding past each other. This is what it's like to be on planet Earth. A puzzle of tectonic plates constantly shifting around. And where the plates meet, it's where the action happens. These meeting points are called faults, and they're essentially fractures in the rock between the two tectonic plates. The plates are rigid, so when they slide past each other, it's not always smooth. The movement builds up stress, causing fractures and fissures to form within the plates, and that's where the San Andreas Fault comes in. The San Andreas Fault is a massive fracture that stretches over 800 miles through California. It marks the boundary between two major tectonic plates, the Northern Pacific Plate and the Northern American Plate. San Andreas is a transform fault, meaning the movement is predominantly horizontal rather than one plate moving under another. As the plates try to move past each other, friction opposes the movement. And where the plates grind against each other, stress builds up until it exceeds a critical level, and the fault ruptures, releasing seismic waves that we feel as an earthquake. It's like the puzzle pieces suddenly snapping apart, causing vibrations that can range from a minor rumble to a catastrophic disaster. For more than 30 million years, the formation of the San Andreas Fault has been an ongoing geological phenomenon. The monumental rift in the Earth's crust has been evolving gradually over time, with the southern section of the fault having existed for only 5 million years. Despite the fault's colossal size, the movement along it is relatively slow, ranging from 20 to 35 millimeters per year, roughly the same pace as your fingernails grow. But don't be fooled by the lethargic speed of the plates. Over time, the relentless movement will create tremendous stress and eventually release it in the form of catastrophic earthquakes. Over 100 years ago, UC Berkeley geology professor Andrew Lawson stumbled upon the fault and named it after a nearby lake, the Laguna de San Andreas. Little did Lawson know that he had also discovered a new type of earthquake, the intermediate depth earthquake. It's incredible to think that a single fault can have such a significant impact on the Earth's geology and create new types of natural disasters. The San Andreas Fault is one of many fault systems that roughly marks the border between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates. The two plates are moving in an approximately northerly direction, but the Pacific Plate is moving faster than its North American counterpart, causing stresses between the plates to continuously build up. In 1906, some of these stresses were catastrophically released in the San Francisco Bay Area in a 7.8 magnitude event. This powerful quake ripped apart a massive 296 miles of the northern San Andreas Fault in California, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. It's hard to imagine the terror that must have swept through the affected areas as the ground shook violently beneath their feet. But the devastation didn't end there. The quake triggered multiple aftershocks that sent buildings crumbling to the ground and sparked uncontrollable fires throughout San Francisco. The shaking damage across the affected area was nothing short of apocalyptic. And in 1989, Northern California experienced a 6.9 magnitude earthquake during the Loma Prieta earthquake. However, events of these magnitudes have not occurred along the San Andreas Fault in the south of the state. The 1994 Northridge event was associated with a nearby but separate fault system, leading to the suggestion that a big one is imminent, and that it will be much larger than the events that have occurred before. So just how big could this potential earthquake be? And is it possible that the destruction depicted in the movie San Andreas could actually come to fruition? Recent predictions limit the possible maximum earthquake magnitude along the San Andreas Fault system to 8.0, with a 7% probability estimate that such an event could occur in Southern California in the next 30 years. Over the same period, there is a 75% chance of a magnitude 7.0 event. While magnitudes of 7, 8, and 9 might sound negligibly different, the energy that such events would unleash varies significantly. with a magnitude 9.0 event releasing 32 times more energy than a magnitude 8 and 1,000 times more energy than a magnitude 7. The movie San Andreas depicts the San Andreas Fault producing an earthquake with a magnitude of 9.0. While not unheard of globally, earthquakes of this size are generally confined to regions of the Earth where subduction is happening. For example, in Chile and Japan. The tectonic situation in California is different, with two plates sliding past each other. But the whole sequence of events, as depicted in the film, is unlikely. For example, the San Andreas Fault is not beneath the ocean, and as such, any slippage along it could not displace water to the extent that a tsunami would be generated. The opening up of a massive chasm is also from the land of fantasy, as the plates are sliding relative to each other, not away from each other. However, a great deal of destruction is still likely. While the building codes in California are stringent, there's no way to make a building 100% safe. But what would happen if the San Andreas Fault were to rupture? The impact would be catastrophic. USGS scenarios project that more than 1,800 people could die and 50,000 could be injured due to a major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault. According to CoreLogic, a business analyst service, a southern San Andreas Fault rupture could cause 3.5 million homes to be at risk, with $289 billion in reconstruction value. In a hypothetical scenario, seismologists modeled how the ground would shake on the southern San Andreas Fault. Engineers and social scientists used that information to estimate the effects of a 7.8 quake that strikes the Coachella Valley. The earthquake waves would travel across the whole state of California, leveling older buildings, disrupting roads, and severing electric, telephone, and water lines. Hundreds of fires would start, and emergency personnel would be hampered by the roads out. Water, electricity, and gas lines across the San Andreas Fault in Los Angeles, and they would break during the quake and remain unfixed for months. Many retrofitted homes and newer buildings would survive the shaking, but many older homes would be rendered structurally unstable. Earthquakes are a natural phenomenon that we cannot prevent from happening, but we can certainly prepare ourselves for them. Countries like Japan and China have demonstrated that strict building codes can save lives in earthquake-prone areas. Constructing buildings that are designed to resist the shaking caused by earthquakes is essential. It's important to acknowledge that some geological areas are simply unsuitable for earthquake resilience, and it's best to avoid constructing buildings in such locations altogether. Reinforcing existing buildings is also a daunting task that is both time-consuming and expensive. Unfortunately, progress in this area has been sluggish, and California remains woefully unprepared for a large earthquake that could strike at any moment. What is the big one? It's a term used to describe earthquakes with a magnitude of 8 or higher. These massive earthquakes have the potential to cause widespread destruction and loss of life. In California, scientists have studied the probability of a big one hitting the region, and their findings suggest that it's not a matter of if, but when. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, there is a 70% chance that one or more earthquakes with a magnitude of 6.7 or larger will occur in California before the year 2030. These smaller earthquakes could be precursors to the big one and serve as a warning to communities to prepare for a major disaster. Thanks for watching. Until next time.